Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to bring up someone special to the stage. Sandy Harmsen, she is the Executive Director of the Workforce Development Board here in San Bernardino. Very amazing story, I heard it last year, and she's going to share some insight with everyone, and I think everyone in this audience can relate to her story. So how many of you felt like you've learned something though already from the other speakers? Make some noise for Al. Al Duncan, you guys like Al? Okay, cool. What about Road Trip Nation? Road Trip Nation? Cool. Well, we're going to bring up a lot of the speakers after Sandy speaks to do a Q&A session. You got to ask your peers who are kind of the next level and succeeding in business. We're going to bring up, Al and Ron, and they're going to come up here, do a Q&A session, and you guys get to ask some questions that maybe we missed and get real feedback. But right now, I want to bring up Sandy to the stage, all right? So make some noise for Sandy, everybody. Let's make some noise for Sandy Harmsen, everybody. Let's make some noise. Ow!
Thank you. It's great to be here. I usually get to be here for more of the day, and I didn't get to be here all day because I was working. But I've got to be here for the last couple of hours, and such energy. As I was watching you sing and rap, I forgot to come down from the top because I was watching everyone. So thank you for that. That was a great way for me to feel comfortable coming into the event today. Sounds like you've had a good time. This is great. As it was said, I am the Executive Director of the Workforce Investment Board, and what the heck is that? I didn't know what it was several years ago. The Workforce Investment Board is a group of individuals who work as volunteers. There's about 43 of them, and they oversee all of the policies for the dollars that come into our county for programs such as this. And it's just my honor and privilege to be able to represent them today and to thank all of you for being here because this is the reason we do what we do, and this is the reason that they do what they do. There were several of our board members that were here today. I think that they have all left, but I want to thank all of them because they make today possible. They make this event and this program possible. I also just want to take a couple seconds to thank our staff, all of the staff from the county, WDD and others. I know that there are others here, some of our partners that are here, to thank all of you because without you, and if you would stand, if you're not standing already, I think I see a lot of you standing, just raise your hand so we can recognize you because the staff that work with all of you. And last but not least, part of what the Workforce Investment Board does is they are responsible for hiring the providers, those folks who brought you here today, the ones that you get to work with on a regular basis. We only hire the best, and we have the best providers in San Bernardino County to work with our youth, so let's give them a round of applause too. When I was asked to speak, when I came in, someone said, "Oh, I know who you are. I saw you." And I said, "What did I say?" on the video, because I had the privilege of being interviewed by Evelyn, and when I was asked to speak, and especially to wrap up the event, I felt like, wow, this is a huge event to wrap up. The people who are here at the end are the people who have stuck with it all day, and what am I going to say to you that's really going to make a difference? And when I started thinking about speaking, I thought, I don't really want to speak to you, I want to talk to you. And I think that is something that I've learned over the years, that when I've worked with other people, and for some of you, maybe this is the first time you've ever seen me, and you're thinking, what in the world does that lady know about me? And how can she relate to me, or what does she know about my life? And so I just want to talk to you a little bit about myself, to kind of open my heart to you. And I did bring some notes because I read a lot of books, and I have some good quotes that I want to share with you, because they are quotes things that have made a difference in my life. I'm reading a book right now, and this is how I want to start. Before I start talking about my personal self, there was a quote in this book that really meant a lot to me this past week, and I want to throw it out there to you, and hopefully you'll think about this. This is your life. Are you who you want to be? Now, for someone like me, I'm approaching the last part of my life. That question is very different than what it might be for those of you who are sitting in these chairs that are youth involved in this program and wherever you are, and all of us at different places in our life. Are we who we want to be? And what are we doing to make ourselves into that person that we really want to be? I grew up in a lower middle class family. There were 3 kids. I was the oldest kid. My dad worked in a grocery store, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And they did the best they could. Actually, I thought we had more money than we had. It turns out we were lower middle class. And my mom and dad did the best they could. And I say that because what I learned later in life, I did not know this. My parents came from a generation that they did not talk about themselves. They didn't talk about the hardships maybe that they had grown up with. And I learned from other relatives later on in life that my mom and dad came from some pretty hard background. Can you imagine being an adult and finding out that your mom grew up in foster care? I did not know that my mom grew up in foster care. She just didn't feel comfortable telling me that and didn't discuss it with me until I was an adult. My father was one of 9 children that grew up in Oklahoma, and I never met a single relative of my dad's in Oklahoma. I have no idea. I don't really know why. What I do know is that they were very poor, and that my grandfather tended to be violent, which explained a lot of things in my home. I love my mom and dad. They both have passed away. They did the best they could, and that's what I understand now. But things weren't always great at home because Dad, in order to offset some of the challenges that he had in life, had a tendency to drink a little bit too much. And when he did that, he'd come home and things could be a little nasty between him and my mom, and things weren't always happy at home. Nobody ever knew. I share a little bit about myself and about my heart because I never know what part of what I share with you might be where you are. And I say that to you today because when you see me walk in my business suit and they say, here comes the director of the Workforce Investment Board, whatever that is, you think, wow, how could she know where I'm coming from? Years ago, I may have been where some of you are sitting right now. By the time I was 17, this always gets a whoo. By the time I was 17, when I was 17, I became pregnant by my high school sweetheart. And I will tell you that, I don't think I got to the good part yet, but I became pregnant at 17. Back in those days, if you got pregnant while you were in school, I was in my senior year of school, they sent you to another school. They would not let you finish out school at your high school, and I didn't want that to happen. So I just zipped my jeans up about as far as they would go and buttoned the top button of my pants. And I worked hard to graduate midterm. I left high school with a high school diploma in February. I'm going to pause a minute so this can sink in. Told my parents that I was pregnant at the beginning of March. Got married to my high school sweetheart by the end of March and had my first child in May. Nobody knew all that time that I was pregnant. Thank God my baby was okay. She's a grown woman now. Everything was okay. By the time I was 21, I had 3 children. I had 3 little girls. 7 years in the marriage did not work out, and my husband and I got divorced, and I became a single mom. I got to do the math, 24, something like that, 24 years old. Single mom and 3 kids. And again, I share that with you because you see me where I am today. I want you to know where I come from. And I want you to know what do you do when things happen in life, or sometimes you create them yourselves, right? Nobody made me do some of the things that I did. We make choices sometimes that aren't always the best. But how can we overcome those things? And what I want to share with you today is that it's up to you. It's up to each of us to decide what is important in our lives, what is valuable in our lives, and focus on those things. And when we understand what is valuable to us and what is important to us, we begin making decisions. Because when you put those things that are important to you out in front of you and you decide, okay, I shared with you about my family, some of the negative things that happened with me, with my mom and my dad when I was growing up, you decide that is not who I am. That is not where I'm going to be. That's not where I'm going to stay. I'm going to make different decisions in my life to do something else. When I became a single mom, while I was married too, my children, very, very important to me. They became the focus. I decided, and do you hear what I'm saying? I decided. You need to decide. Decide what's important and decide where you're going to go with your life. And I decided things are going to be different for my kids. I'm going to make sure that my kids know that they are loved, that they don't have to be afraid of what's going on. They don't have to deal with the nutty things that their dad was doing to us, and some crazy things happened. I had to have him arrested a couple of times for the kinds of things that he was doing, and it was kind of a scary time for my kids, although now they'll look back and they'll tell me, you know, Mom, we never were afraid. Things would happen and we think, wow, why is that happening? But we didn't stay afraid, and it's because of the way that you handled it. And I think, wow, I was afraid. I don't know why they weren't afraid. I was afraid. But I share that with you too, because things are going to happen in your lives. Difficulties are going to come. You're going to feel afraid. It's okay. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Do what you need to do to move ahead and to get to where you want to be. This book that I'm reading used an analogy of talking about dirt bike riding, and I had one of my daughter's ex-boyfriends used to do a lot of dirt bike riding, and we used to go out and watch him jumping those hills. What I didn't know was the hills and the curves on those dirt bike roads. Anybody know what those are called? What are they? Moguls? Is that what you said? I think that they are called that in some races, but whoops. The hills on those tracks are called whoops. When you hit one and you kind of go flying, it's called a whoop. And I thought, oh, I like that, because life is kind of like a dirt bike track, isn't it? And we hit a lot of whoops. And rather than say, oh, God, I really blew it, and now I can never make it, whoops. I did something that, okay, maybe it wasn't the best choice in the world. Marrying my first husband probably wasn't the best choice in the world, but I wouldn't have my 3 daughters either if I hadn't done that. And everything that happens, there's a good thing that you can find in it. And everything that happens to you will make you stronger and bring you to where you are in the future. You can either build on that to be stronger and become better, or let that thing define you as negative. And I chose not to let those things define me in a negative way. My ex-husband used to say, he dated a lot when we first got separated, he dated a lot while we were married, and that's why it didn't work out. And so he would say to me, no one's ever going to want to marry you. You're never going to find anyone who's going to want a lady with 3 kids, right? No one's ever going to want you. Well, he was wrong. I've been married for 27 years to the most wonderful man. Thank you. And I heard someone say it up here, be careful who you're listening to. Who are your 5 closest friends? Who are you listening to? Be careful who you listen to. Don't own it. Someone says something to you that's negative, you let it go. Know who you are. Know that you were put here for a reason. You have been destined for greatness. There is a destiny for you. There is a plan. And it's up to each of us to find out what that plan is and to take our place in that whole scheme of things. As I watched all of you today and watched all of the talent that was up here on this stage and watched as you as a group were watching everyone that was up here, I thought to myself, this is the future of San Bernardino County. This is the future for the state of California, and you are the future for our nation. Think about how the choices that you make today can impact lives in the future. 20 years ago, I never knew that this job existed, but what I decided was I wanted to do something to help people. And what I did after I got remarried, I went back to school. I said, I really need to go back to school. I was in my 30s when I went back to school. Got my degree, took me 6 years to get my college degree, earned my degree, and was teaching when my husband lost his job. The company that he'd worked for 28 years closed. He got another job, but was only making half of what he was making before. And he said, God, we got to try to find either me or you, we got to find a job that has benefits. I needed a job. a job with benefits. So this job came open in the county that was for an employment specialist, and I think that I have some of our employment specialists are here in the room today. And I said, I think I can do that job. I think I'm going to go down and apply for that job. It says that they help people, so I'm going to go down and apply. Went down to the testing center. There had to be 200 people there. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's no way they're going to choose me. There's no way I'm going to be able to pass that test. But I'd driven all the way to San Bernardino from Ontario, which seemed like a long way back then. And I said, you know what? I started looking around, no offense to anybody else who was there, but said, I bet I can do better than that guy. I bet I can test it just as well, if not better than this guy. I'm going to stay, and I'm going to take the test, because I considered going home. I took the test, that was 18 years ago, and I got the job. Over the years with the county, I've had a lot of different jobs, and that's what I want to say to you as well. Opportunities are going to come, and depending on what you do to prepare yourself, you're either ready for that opportunity or you're not. And by taking the positive path, if you're thinking in a positive direction, knowing what's important to you, make good decisions. Maybe you hit a few whoops. Maybe you even crashed a few times. But it's all about getting up, shaking the dust off, dusting the dust off of you, making sure you don't have any broken bones. And if you do, you'll set the bone, it'll heal, and continuing forward. Don't let anything stop you from going after what it is you want in life once you decide what's important. And once you do, I told someone, it was one of our WIB board members actually, was sitting up top with me watching all of the activity going on. I said, I cannot imagine being in a better job in my whole life. What better job is there than to be in charge of a program that does such a great thing working with youth? We also work with adults and helping adults be trained and find employment. What better job is there? This is a wonderful job. It doesn't just happen. It happens because you decide ahead of time what you want, and you start going after those things because I want to help people. Things just start happening in your life. You'll start seeing the pieces of your life come together, and pretty soon you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And that's what I'm saying for each one of you. There's not quite as much smoke this year. I can see some of your faces. And I want to just wish that I could look in each of your eyes and tell you, you have a purpose. There is a purpose for your life. There is a plan. There is a director's job for you. There is a teacher's job for you. We actually have a rocket scientist on our workforce investment board. There's a rocket scientist job for you, and we have the connections. There is anything that you want to do is out there for you. It's just decide, and don't let where you are today, where you are now, get in the way of that. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't achieve what you want to achieve. You decide. We each decide. Lastly, I have a quote from, again, this great book. By the way, the book I'm reading is called 30 Days to Live. And it's not about dying. It's about living your life as if you thought you only had 30 days to live. Would you change anything that you're doing today if you knew you only had 1 month left to live? And if you would, why aren't you doing that? Because do we really know? Do we really know what's going to happen? And live with purpose and live with passion. And the book has just really touched me. I heard this gentleman speak, and I said, man, I've got to have that book. But again, thinking about that, what is important? What is important in life? Living as if there's only 1 month left to live. The last part of the book, and I'm going to find that last page. I mentioned to you that 20 years ago, I didn't even know that this job existed. But I'm not here by accident, and neither are you. You chose to come today. You chose to work with the providers that you're working with. No matter what's going on in your life, you made decisions every day to work with those people who are giving you the positive advice. Write down the things that are important to you. This isn't the quote yet, but these are some of the other things I was thinking about. Write down those things that are important to you and put them out there in front of you so that you keep focused, because life's going to happen and you're going to get off course. So keep those things in front of you that are important. I have pictures of my kids everywhere, and guess what? Now I have pictures of my grandkids all over the place, and they think that they are the only reason I work is to buy them things. When you hit the whoops, laugh and smile. When you crash, heal, recover, figure out what happened. Don't take that road again that led you to the crash. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by what you didn't do than by what you did do. So, Mark Twain says, sing like no one is listening, dance like no one is watching, and live each day with the greatest of passion. God bless you. I love each of you. I don't know you. I care about you. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for allowing me to address you today. Thank you.